All right, good morning, everyone. I'm going to open up the floor today with Front Row, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Ryan. I know you guys want to be balanced offensively. Right now, you guys are 96 in the country in rushing yards per game. I'm sure there are a lot of factors, but is the O-line not playing up to par? Is it schematical? What are you seeing as kind of the biggest culprit?
Yeah, watch the film, and I think we have the personnel to do it. When you look at the some of the plays that we ran, I think there was probably one play that schematically I felt like we were going uphill. I think for the most part, the schemes we ran, there was really pretty good looks. Now there was an extra guy there a lot, especially when we had two tight ends in the game. And that opened up some things in the pass game, which was good. But we just got to execute it better. We got to coach it better. That starts with me. And, we got to, figure out a way whether, we're doing too much, too little, whatever that is. But I felt like the scheme and what we were doing was very sound. And I think we have the right guys. So what does that come down to? We got to coach it better.
Do you expect to have Trey this week?
Yes. Yeah.
Over to the right, Dobbs Berry, WBNS.
Coach, since 2000, the Buckeyes are 3-5 at Ross age.
Jeez.
Anything you can put a finger on why over there?
No, I can't. But I know it's been a difficult place to play for sure. And this team's no different. They're very well coached. They have good players, and I know they'll have a great atmosphere there. So, we're into October now, middle of the season, playing on the road in the Big Ten, and all these games are critical and difficult. So we got to have a great week of preparation, and that's just about what we expect this time of year.
Knowing that the history and anything, do you do anything different this week to make sure?
No, we're still growing. We're working. We're a work in progress in all areas. We got to keep building, so we're nowhere we need to be, and that's okay. But we gotta be hungry this week. We gotta have urgency, and we gotta fight to get better. And our guys feel that. You can see that there's some things we did well on Saturday, but things we got to get better at. And so Purdue is just next on the list.
Third row right, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
When you have a young quarterback that you're trying to kind of just bring along week after week, how do you balance introducing new things to him? Is it a thing where you just want to see him do the things that you're asking him well, but also like trying to introduce new concepts? I guess where's he at on that? Have you been introducing new things to him week after week?
I think it depends on who you're playing. It depends if there are things that you've done in the past that fit, then certainly you want to do that. If there's things schematically that based on the team you're playing, you may need to adjust a little bit and put on the field. I think that's kind of the art of trying to figure out how to put your team in best position to be successful. But now that we're 5 games in, there's at least a body of work, and there's the plays we practice, the plays we run in games, and then every week you'll have some new wrinkles.
Are you reaching a point where maybe you need to ask more of him, just maybe to help alleviate some of those concerns in the run game and maybe loosen up the box a little bit?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at everything right now for sure, and the quarterback and everybody's got to do their part. Everybody, and the quarterback's one of them.
Third row left, Andy Anders, 11 Warriors.
So a lot of two tight end personnel. It seemed like even more than you guys have used all season. Was that matchup based, or was that maybe an increased confidence in G and his blocking ability?
A little bit of both. Yeah, I thought, he's practiced well when he deserves to get on the field, and it certainly did allow us an opportunity to be explosive in the pass game. You can see that, there was some really big plays out there, and that was good. So, when you have 3 surfaces on both sides or a 4-man surface, there's just different wrinkles for the defense to have to deal with. And, the goal is to score as many points as possible and move the ball. But, there's certain areas obviously we need to get better at, but we'll keep looking at different personnel groupings to put as much stress as we can on the defense.
Far left, Joe Nugent, WCMH.
With the slow starts, is part of the challenge identifying why it is happening? And you can obviously tackle that.
I think in particular on Saturday, we missed a couple of things early on, and then we had the botched snap. So I think it just kind of culminated there. I don't think the defense was slow. I think, but the first throw and catch was unbelievable. Davidson was right there. Quarterback threw it on time, and it was well executed and put the defense in a tough spot. So I think the defense was ready to roll. And we found our rhythm a little bit later on in the game for for the offense. But I think, just a combination of that with the botch snap certainly didn't start the way we wanted to. So we got to figure out a way to do a little better of that on offense so we can get a rhythm going for the whole team. But that comes with preparation and putting it on the field. And, we'll try to do it as coaches, try to get the guys in the right plays early on to help with that. But they also have to take some ownership of it.
Steve Centerfield, Jeremy Birmingham, the podcast.
Ryan, there's been a lot of conversation with Jim Knowles and how the defense has recalibrated itself and changed some philosophies. Has there been anything offensively that you felt you've changed heading into this year? And if not, is there something holistically that you think maybe you need to change on offense?
No. I mean, I don't think philosophically we've changed anything. We know that, some of the teams that have slowed down, that has changed a little bit in terms of how we've approached our game planning. But other than that, no, I mean, you try to find the right things that fit the guys that you have at the time, knowing that, especially when you get in November or October and November, you're going to get some bad weather days. You got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to run the ball in the red zone. You got to be able to convert on short yardage, all those types of things. So that has to be part of your game. And that hasn't really changed. We're going to continue to work towards that, but also be explosive as we possibly can on offense.
Far right, Adam King, WBNS.
Coach, I feel like last year you talked a lot about competitive excellence and getting up for games, even if they aren't, the game you circle on the calendar. But this year, undefeated Maryland, obviously you can't sleep on Purdue with the history there. Then you've got Penn State, Wisconsin. How do you guys constantly keep getting up knowing that the next game is just another huge game?
Yeah, we call it the competitive stamina, and we still do. We still talk about that, bringing it every week, and it's something that comes up this time of year because of exactly what you're saying. And it's not about the team we're playing; it's always about us. But we're just in a constant grind to get better and to improve in all these different areas. And we know, our first goal was to win the first game, then win the next 10, and then win the rivalry game. And we have these goals, and so we knew this was going to be a long stretch. We talked about it during the bye week, and you got to bring it every week. That's part of the deal. When you come to Ohio State, you're not allowed to have a bad day.
When you look at early on in the season, you talked about balancing with Heartline the offensive duties. How has that through 5 games panned out for you guys?
Yeah, good. I think, we got a good, good synergy on offense, and there's certainly all kinds of areas that we want to get better at. That's unlike any other organization. But no, I think we got a good group of guys.
Right in front of them, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Reading the notes here, they have a freshman a D tackle who has 3 picks. He leads the Big Ten in solo tackles. Is he somebody you have to scheme against?
I mean, I think they're doing a great job. Schematically, coach came over from Illinois, and they did a nice job there. He's coached at Missouri. He's coached at some really good places, and good defenses have followed him. And he's going to recruit really good players. He has really good players now. So he seems like a really intelligent guy who gets his guys in the right spot and they play hard. So yeah, I mean, we look hard at the personnel and make sure that the matchups are right.
Fourth row right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Brandon, do you have an update on Emeka at all?
No, not right now. One thing I can tell you is that it's not going to be a long-term issue. We'll probably have a better idea how he's doing later in the week, but good news was it's not a long-term issue, and we'll kind of reevaluate as the week goes on.
And then Kyle was 8 of 11 on first down, I think 187 yards in a touchdown. How much does that take pressure off the running game to be perfect when you've got a quarterback that's that efficient on first down?
Well, that's it. The goal is to get 4 yards on first down, and if teams are going to load the box, then he's got to do a great job of being efficient in that exact spot. And when you can do that, then like you said, it takes pressure off the run game. It all goes together. So whether we're talking about the quarterback making checks or throwing the ball or whatever those things are, reading people, he has to do his part, and part of that is exactly what you're saying. And that's like the first play of the game, we don't complete the bubble. That's part of the run game. We got to complete those balls. That's got to be like a long handoff. That's what we call it. He knows that, but yeah, I mean that's a big part of what we're doing.
Right next door, Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
On Maryland and Notre Dame, both weeks, you guys rushed for, I think it was less than a yard and a half before contact. When you look at those films, do you see a common thread there, or was it just pull like you said for?
No, I think we can do a better job of getting movement up front. I think we can do a better job of getting to the second level and getting the running backs there. I think the running backs can do a better job of seeing it. So, it's a little bit here, a little bit there. I mean, I'm not just going to sit here and tell you it's one or two things. And so we're just going to keep swinging at it. And that's kind of sometimes how the run game goes. You got to keep working to get better at it. And, that's not going to be any different this week.
Do you expect to get mine more work, or I know you said Trey's probably going back, but how do you see that rotation?
Well, again, we'll see as the week goes on, how that shakes. But I thought he ran hard when he had his opportunity in the game on Saturday.
Bill Landis, the podcast.
I know that the kind of stretch wide zone run has sort of been your base run play since you've kind of been the head coach here. Especially last week, it just didn't seem like it was getting blocked very well. And I'm just wondering, what is the conversation with the staff of, like, in terms of what you want to do, like to do, and what your line can do? And I don't know, there's going to be a shift there if that play is not hitting the way you need it to.
No, it's a great question. It's a constant conversation. You can imagine it was brought up again this week, and trying to identify exactly that. Schematically, you're trying to figure out what your guys can do well, and then does it fit your backs? Does it fit your line? Does it fit your quarterback? Trying to find the right angles. And the one thing about the stretch play is it gets people out in space. It's not just a bunch of guys in a small area. And when you're in the pistol, you don't give away, running one way or another. You can get downhill. There's a lot of positives to it, but you're right. I mean, we're looking at all those things and trying to make sure that we can find the right mixture for these guys.
Last year, it seemed like Dallin was able to give you guys a real spark when you needed it from the running back position. And he's just not played a whole lot. I know it's hard to get everyone a touch, especially when your room's fully healthy. But like last week when you don't have Trey, did you give any consideration to playing Dallin more? And I guess why has he not been so much part of that?
Yeah, we talked about it in the preseason going into the season, and what we didn't want to do is put down in a situation where with three running backs, we were going to use up a year of eligibility for him. Now he's ready to go, he's practicing, and if appropriate, we'll put him in the game. But we also don't want to have him play in 5 or 6 games without getting a bunch of work in. We just don't think that's the right thing to do for Dallin. But Dallin's ready to go. Dallin was great about it. And, if it's appropriate, he will go in because he still has 4 games to play. And then we wouldn't, burn a whole year of eligibility with Dallin as we look into the future, because we do think he's great. I think he's a really good player. We have 3 guys already there. So that's kind of the conversation that we had. And he was great. He's working hard. And we'll definitely consider that as we move forward.
Ryan, recruiting, while you've got all of this stuff going on and your mid-season and everything, are you still able to separate yourself when you get a commitment from a kid who has wanted to be a Buckeye his entire life? When you get that call, what's that like for you?
No, it's exciting. It's great. Like you said, it's our focus right now is so much about the season, and you have to compartmentalize yourself a little bit, which is hard for me to do during the season, especially on game day when recruits are here. But they're coming to visit for a different reason. They're coming to see the game. And they know that, but yeah, great when you kind of get that kind of information, and and that's part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to show how we develop players, show progress on offense, defense, special team, so that we can recruit better and better players.
What's it like being able to provide that kind of opportunity?
Yeah, I usually don't think about it this time of year. But I mean, that's really what we're doing is we're making an impact on young people. We're giving young people an opportunity. And when people come in, they have an idea of how it's going to go, and it doesn't always exactly go that way. But, just think about some of the things that have happened even just in the last, few years with some of our guys, and the opportunity to be a Buckeye and have an impact on other people in the community has been tremendous, whether it's on the field, off the field. That's what this is all about. And so, yeah, sometimes you have to stop, take a deep breath, and realize that. And that's, when you bring somebody into the fold like that, you're starting somebody's new story at Ohio State. And one thing I tell the recruits all the time, there's nothing that can't be done here. I mean, it's the sky's the limit at Ohio State.
Right next door, Pat Murphy. Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, after the game, you talked about the poise of your team and how you like that. Does that come top down with captains, leaders, and kind of the way that those guys handle themselves?
Yeah. Yep. We do have good leadership. We have several guys in the team that have embraced that role, and when challenged, they've responded well to that. Whether it's guys who like to speak up or guys that maybe haven't spoken up in the past, they bring a calming presence to the team, which is important, especially when guys have been in these types of situations before. It's not all new, and again, I think that's going to pay off here, the next couple months.
Did you notice that Notre Dame, was it before the season? I mean, when does that kind of come into your mind? Is okay, this is something this team can lean on a little bit.
I think you just see the personalities of the guys on the team, and you see that they've played in games before, and there's a level of maturity that they handle themselves with and communicate with that leads you to believe they're going to be able to handle different scenarios and game situations.
Dan Hope, 11 Warrior.
Ryan, Cade is playing a bigger role than we've seen from a tight end here in a long time in the passing game. What do you think he's done that's enabled him to be such a big part of the passing game this year?
Well, the first is he takes a lot of snaps. He does a lot of the dirty work. He blocks, and because of that, he creates pass and run conflicts. And that isn't always the case when you're with three receivers in the game. When you start to get into two tight ends, we don't really run as many three tight ends. But in those type of personnel groupings, you can create a lot of pass and run conflicts on linebackers, on safeties. And I think that's what you're seeing with Cade. Now, he's also run some really nice routes out in the open, just drop back pass. But I think you're seeing some of the play action open up because of, some of his dirty work.
You mentioned his route running. How much growth have you seen from him in that area compared to where he was a year or two ago?
Yeah, I think he's playing faster. I said this before, when you're a tight end, you have to block like an old lineman, run like a receiver, and protect like a running back. And it isn't, at first, you have to find someone that can do it. Second, you have to find someone that can handle it mentally. And third, you have to find someone that can sustain it. I got to go block a defensive end. I got to block a defensive end, and then I got to get open against a defensive back down the field. And then I got to do it all over again for 60, 70 plays. And so that takes, some real stamina that he's built up over time.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
The goal is get 4 yards on first down. It seems like it's a pretty standard thing in football. But when that doesn't happen for you guys, I don't know the numbers right now, but when that doesn't happen, how is that setting you back as a play caller and what's open for you going forward, just in a drive in general?
Yeah. I mean, it's huge. We got to get at least 4 yards. If you get more than that, then certainly things open up more, and you're setting things up better. So it's a huge part of the offense and how we call it and how we do it.
Second and 10, kill a drive before it even gets started.
Well, it sets you back because, now you're playing left-handed for sure. The one thing that, like you said, negative plays or 0-yarded plays is really, when you look at drive killers, those are big. So whether it's a penalty, a sack, TFL, or, incomplete pass, that can really set you back. So we try to do everything we can. When we shoot the ball down the field, certainly the percentages, go down in terms of your completion. If you're 50-50 on those type of plays, probably a pretty good day. But you also have to consider that into the equation when you're building a game plan.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
And you mentioned the fake punt, or not the fake punt, the snap was not a fake punt. It was important distinction there. I guess what happened on that? What can sort of prevent that from happening again? How did you address that?
No, I just asked what happened, and then the ball slipped. So, I was as surprised as anybody. So that can't happen again.
The punt unit had another player who was an illegal procedure or legal formation. What's your feeling with the way things are going with that unit?
Well, I mean, the muff snap certainly didn't help anything. So, I mean, that's the life of a long snapper, a punter, and a field goal kicker. We call it one shot, one kill, like a sniper. I mean, you don't have an opportunity to be wrong. And so, I think those guys understand that, and they'll work hard to get that fixed. Xavier on that play was lined up, he was a hair into the backfield. So we got to get him up. it was close, but he's got to get up on the line of scrimmage. So, just detail on that one for Xavier, somebody who's usually very accountable. And but across the board, yeah, I mean, we need special teams to be an advantage for us. And so again, we'll work hard this week to, maximize that area because it's a third of the game.
Doug Lamorice, Kings of Columbus, in the podcast.
Ryan, I feel like we asked similar questions last year about this. You guys just statistically are more successful passing the ball than running the ball right now. So why not just pass more?
Right.
And how does, you mentioned, November Big Ten games, how does being in Ohio instead of being in Florida or Texas or California influence your thought process there?
Well, I think it all goes together. I think at the end of the day, you have to move the ball. That's the bottom line. But like you said, there's going to be games here coming up that it's going to be raining, it's going to be windy, and you're not going to have an opportunity to just line up in 4 and 5 wides and throw it all over the yard. So, the other thing is, this year when you're playing, you have a good defense and a young quarterback, you're maybe less likely to take as many chances early on. But then there comes a time where you can't beat your head against the wall either. So finding that rhythm is what's important, because the number one goal is to win games. And but we got to keep building. We got to keep getting better. And we got to keep pushing the envelope in all areas, because we want to have that balance, and we know that we're going to need both sides of the offense, both running and passing.
And you guys do have a full-time special teams coach here. It feels like special teams has come up going back to last year at the end of the year, maybe more often than would be expected. You talked about a level of detail. Should your level of detail on special teams be better when you have a full-time coach devoted to them?
I mean, I think we want all of our detail to be better just across the board. But I can tell you that we work really hard on special teams. I think that the coaching detail is there. I think we just need to hold each other accountable. And, again, it starts with me. So I got to help coach it better and hold the coaches accountable and the players accountable to play at a high level. And, because we want it to be a weapon for us. We want it to be an area that we're winning on. And, there's been some good things. And, just like offense and defense, there's areas we got to get better at.
Ryan, you called them 4-point plays in the red zone, turning field goals into touchdowns. That's been a struggle for you guys this season. What can you attribute to some of those red zones?
There's been some good things too. I thought it was, Kyle threw 2 back-to-back touchdowns. That was great to see him. That was the most confident I've seen him in the pocket, back-to-back 2 in a row like that. That was well done. I thought we hit the sweep really well to Maya, and that was well executed. Julian Fleming came down and did a nice job on the Mike linebacker. So those were good. When I look at that, the one drive there, we called the screen there. We knew we were getting zero coverage, and the 3 technique or 4-eye didn't quite rush the way we thought he would, and he ended up right in the passing lane. And so Kyle did a nice job of ditching the ball, even though he got an intentional grounding. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. So that one hurt us. And then we went down on the next drive. Called the play action pass. The safety didn't come down the way that maybe we thought he would have after we ran the other play. And Kyle did a good job of throwing that away. We didn't get what we wanted on the power play. Just didn't get enough movement up front. Didn't quite hit it the maybe we wanted to hit it, to at least create a situation where it could have been a 2-down situation. And then we tried the throwback to Cade and got too much penetration up front. So, I can kind of go through every play and recognize the areas, but it comes down to execution at the end of the day.
Austin Ward, the podcast.
Ryan, did you have to run on Sunday?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not trying to get you fined, but it feels like you're going to be getting a number of apologies from the Big Ten or post-game explanations. What is your involvement in trying to get that clarity afterwards? What is your level of frustration with the way it's seemingly happening every single week?
Yeah, like you said, it's hard for me to say much. But I can just tell you this, that, it's my job to advocate for the players and compete. I mean, there's so much on the line every single Saturday. And so you got my word. I'm going to, go as hard as I possibly can to defend our players, to make sure that, they have the best environment to be successful. That's the best way I can put it.
You do with apology letters. You frame those. Those mean a lot to you.
No comment. I wish I could say.
Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
When you have a unit like with the offensive line right now, I know you're trying to improve every position all season. When you have one that's a little bit farther behind right now, can you afford to alter things in practice to account for that, to try to bring that group along? Like, how do you do that, and what does it cost you to do?
No, I think that's exactly right. I think you got to figure out, okay, what are the areas that we're maybe coming up short in? Now, this is just with everybody, but, just like anybody else in any other line of work, I'm sure, is, if there's areas you got to improve on, we got to look at everything. Got to look at, what we're doing, how we're doing it, how we're preparing, how we're practicing it, how we're calling it. I mean, every part of it. And, that's going on.
You said you think you have the personnel right now, but coming into the season, there was a lot of talk about how Luke was looking early on, how Mecca had come on, Tegra Shabola. So is there still a gap between where those guys are at and where your 5 starters are at?
I think so. Yeah. When we looked hard at it, I just don't see any of those guys right now pushing. I'd like to see that, but don't see them like pushing on the door enough to say, someone deserves 20, 30 snaps in a game just yet. But, there's still a lot of football left to play, and, it's, feel free to make a push. We want that in practice.
Right behind him, Jeff Gilbert, Press Pros.
Excuse me, back to the run game thing still, the line, the personality that teams have, this group as a line, what's their personality and how does it need to evolve to be what you want it to be?
Yeah, I think when I always say execution fuels emotion, I think when we are executing, you see that emotion come into play. And I think that's a huge part of it. So, I don't think they're not playing hard. I don't see that part of it. I think they're working to play hard. They're working to play physical, and there's certain areas like hand placement, pad level, identification of things that we can all improve on. But it's not just the offensive line either. I think the running backs have to take some responsibility. The quarterback's got to take some responsibility. The wide receivers, the tight end. I mean, everyone's got to do their part here. So we're all looking at it and pushing to make it better.
You're working with them hard. Does it feel like we're all picking on them a little bit, or do you feel like this is kind of justified all the questions?
This is the expectation. I get it. Nobody wants to run the ball more than me. So, the bottom line is if they're going to put that many guys down in the box, there's probably going to be open receivers down the field with the guys that we have. I get that part of it, but that doesn't mean that we're just going to abandon the run game. I've been down that road before, and throwing for 450 yards in a game is great, but it's going to catch up with you later in the season if you can't figure out how to run the ball. And I've learned my lesson on that. And so we're just going to keep pushing as hard as we can to make sure that we have the balance we need to win the games we need. I think that's the best you can do as a coach, but we're also got to win the games and whatever that takes. But we know what we need to do. We know what it looks like. We got good coaches. We got good players. So we'll keep swinging on it.
Far left, Justin Colbrock, WCMH.
Going back to opportunity, just for you personally, what is it like to see guys that you said everybody's path looks different and it takes guys longer? They don't expect maybe where they're going to end up. Or for a guy like Josh to have a game like he did, or Chip 2 games ago, just for you, what's it like to see them stick with it and have that come to fruition?
Well, we're only 5 games in, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a guy who's been through a lot. You think of Lathan and Josh both, broken legs and injuries and different things they've been through. But that's what makes life great. I mean, we all go through adversity in our life, and if you haven't, it's coming around the corner. And so that's what, shapes your character and who you are. And that's the rewarding part of coaching, is to help young men work through that adversity, whether it's losing somebody in their life, injuries, struggling to get on the field, bad games, whatever they're struggling in academically, socially, mentally, physically, whatever the things are. And we've had all the above here. That's, as a position coach, I don't get that as much anymore, but as a head coach overseeing it all, that's why you coach. You didn't get into coach to do anything other than have an impact on people. And that is the rewarding part of it. Now, you have to win every game. If you don't win every game at Ohio State, they're going to find another coach. So that's part of the job, but that's not the reason why you coach. The reason you coach is to have an impact on people. And, our coaching staff believes in that.
You start to see that level of consistency that he can be entrusted to do that and perform every single game.
Well, I think it's been a long road for Josh. It has. There's been a lot of ups and downs, and he's stuck through it. He's persevered. He's come out the back end, and now he's the best version of himself. Now it's week to week, but you're seeing what he's capable of, and so now he's got to continue to do it over time.
I know at Ohio State the expectation is you reload and not rebuild, but the fact is that you did lose 3 NFL players on that line, including a high first-round pick. Is it just possible that this talent on the line is just not quite what you want it to be right now?
I think that's hard for me to say because I believe in our guys, and I think they're plenty good enough to go win every game. So, I tell you if I didn't think so. And so then what we're going to do is just continue to grow to get better. I mean, there was a point where, Paris Johnson wasn't quite where he needed to be. He was in his sophomore year, he was at right guard, and then he moved over to tackle. And then as the season went on, he got better and better. So we're going to keep pushing these guys to get better and better because, like you said, the expectation is so high.
Actually, I'll let you go. That's all I got.
Okay.
We'll do another one.
Okay, we'll wrap things up with Tim May. On 3, let him in row.
Yeah, just 3 quickies. I was going to ask a smart leg, but I'm not. But on the Xavier Johnson illegal motion penalty, what's the coaching point there, or was it?
Yeah, the penalty was called because he was going towards the line of scrimmage to gain an advantage. So we can't be going towards the line of scrimmage when we go into motion.
So he was. I mean, when you watched the video, that was correct.
That was what it was called. Yeah,
That's a legit
that's what it was called.
As you sit here right now and sort of dovetailing off all the questions about the offensive line, are you sitting here right now? Are you disappointed in the progress thus far? What word would you use to describe that? Is it just guys slow in recognition on what's going on a particular play? Because I would think you have answers for almost anything a defense does throw at you in some form or fashion. Just what word would you use? I guess.
I think if we were talking about a particular play, we could probably watch the film and I could tell you on each play what needs to get better. And again, when you look at it and you say, it's personnel, it's coaching, or it's scheme, I mean, I'm very, very critical of that. There were a couple plays that we probably could have called in a different, and so that got us off schedule. But for the majority of them, I thought they were decent. I thought the angles and the leverage was decent on the plays. And then, look at the personnel, like, were we just getting flat out beat? I think we can do a better job with our hands. Yes. We need to do a better job with our pad level. Yes. But then just, between the line and the running back and just the overall execution, it wasn't there. So, I don't know if I have a word other than we're just going to keep swinging on this thing. And, it's one of those things where if you can solve it, it's going to be rewarding because, we're working so hard at it, but everybody's got to take responsibility.
Yeah, the reason I ask that is there is no simple answer to a question like that at this point. And then number 2, as you sit here right now, I know it's knock on wood time and all this kind of stuff. How would you describe your please? Are you pleased? What word would you use to describe where your defense is right now compared to the way it left last year? I mean, is it remarkably improved? How would you describe it? Because you watched the video.
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell right now where we're at, but you're seeing some good play. You're seeing more experienced play. You're seeing guys who, are able to, take meetings to the field. They're able to get in and out of defenses pretty quickly. They're able to react faster. And probably the word that I like to use better is anticipation. They're able to anticipate things as opposed to reacting. We all know what that looks like. It's kind of hard to quite verbalize other than that, but you know when you see it. They're playing faster. They're seeing it. They're communicating well. But the challenge is going to be, can you bring it every week? Ultimately, you won't know the answer to that until the end of the season. So we got to do that again here at noon on Saturday.
Toward that end, what does Purdue offer, or what does Purdue offer from a challenge standpoint for this defense from what you've seen?
Yeah, the quarterback's good. He's got a strong arm. He can run around, make plays. They've been very explosive at times on offense, and so they'll challenge us in certain areas. So and then they'll have a really good plan, and it's a road game in October in the Big Ten. You know how that goes. So.
Thank you.
Ryan, I apologize. You said something I'm just so curious to follow up on. You said you learned your lesson on needing to run the ball. Was it 73 passes for 470 yards against Purdue and 25 runs for 76 yards? And scoring 20 points in a loss? Is that the game?
I wouldn't say it was one game, but I think there's just been times over the years where you just realize that this is going to be important if we're going to reach our goals, and I can't just point to one game, although that game in particular we didn't run the ball very well. Man, how many yards did we throw for in that game?
470,
right?
49 to 73 for 470,
right? So the stats look good, but you lose the game. So that's why we're always working to strike a balance. And at the end of the year, you come up for air and you try to identify the areas you got to get better at. And there's been certain games that I've looked at and said, okay, we got to do a better job in those areas. Yeah.
Coach, thank you very much.
open up questions for Coach Knowles, front row. Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Jim.
Hello.
How would you say the linebackers are playing? Steele and Tommy are playing right now.
I think they're playing well. I mean, always do better, but I think they understand the defense. They're managing things well. Yeah, so they're pushing always to get better, but I think they're doing a good job.
And how would you assess Jack Sawyer's play?
I think Jack is doing everything we ask him to do. He's strong at the point of attack. He understands his role in the defense, and he's one of 11. We can count on him.
Second row left, Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
Why is JT Tuimoloau out such a strong run defense weapon from that position? What about him makes it?
It's a strength combined with athleticism. He's strong enough to defeat any block at the point of attack, but he's also athletic enough to maneuver in the trenches, on stunts or twists or different assignments that we give him. And he's football smart. He's really a complete player.
Last week, I think you used the word unique, describing him. When you see a guy like that, or maybe just talk specifically about him, is it for you, is it like, oh, I need to find new ways to use him, or I need to leave him alone to do the things he does?
Yeah, leave him alone. Let him do what he does. He's excelling at his position. He understands the position. He has great football intelligence. So he's a weapon. We certainly can do other things with him, but he's performing well what he's doing.
Austin Ward, the podcast.
Jim, do you notice any different energy, productivity? I don't know. What do you feel when Caden Curry is out there?
Yeah, I notice he's a guy who plays. He plays with his hair on fire. He plays, I guess, above his measurables. When you look at him for being a guy who maybe doesn't have all the height or weight, he's just one of those guys that will fly around, and that makes a difference. I think it's a great change of pace to throw at an offense.
How much? I don't want to be accused of being a spy, but what's the amount to use somebody like Caden? If that's a change up, what's the ideal volume of snaps to give somebody like that?
As many as you can. Again, I go back to that's a rotation up front that Coach Johnson works on, and you really have to go with the flow of the game and how it's going and what we're seeing. So there's no exact number, but you really have to go with what's happening in the game.
Fourth row right, Andy Backstrom, Letterman Row.
It felt like this was the first game we saw Sonny really tested in coverage. What was your assessment of his play there? And then secondly, that third and that blitz, what went into that bringing him into the fourth quarter?
Which blitz?
The one in the fourth quarter, I believe, 2017, brought Sonny in 39.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought Sonny did well in man coverage. I mean, there's matchups on the slot that I think we got beat twice, right? It wasn't just Sonny, but I think Jordan was in there also. Those are tough matchups, but he was right there. Jordan was right there. We just got to continue to coach in terms of how to shoot your hands and where to be with your body position when the ball goes up. But I thought Sonny did fine in man coverage. He's in terms of the blitz, yeah, he's a weapon. So I'm always looking for new ways to use him, in ways that will surprise the offense. And we were able to do that on Saturday.
Right behind him, Cameron T. Robinson, the Athletic.
Jim, going into the Maryland game, you mentioned you needed a coordinated rush to get after the quarterback. when you have guys like Michael and Tylee who, I mean, nearly right out of the snap are splitting their double team to get after the quarterback, how much does that help when you're trying to coordinate things, but you also don't want to blitz? So
Yeah, it's always a balance. You don't want to hold those guys back. But I think you have to have an awareness of the quarterback you're playing and understand when that pressure comes where the escape hatch is going to be. But certainly those guys can change the game with immediate rush from the inside. They're both quick off the ball and athletic and strong.
what's been the difference, you think, this year, Tylee, than the year ago?
You know, Tyleek, again, I go back to just the amount of snaps, being healthy, able to utilize his athletic ability, seeing more plays, understanding offense. He's really a smart guy. So I think the more reps he gets, he's just picking things up and kind of seeing the play before it happens.
Fourth row middle, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Jim, I keep getting asked why CJ Hicks isn't playing, so I'm going to ask you, why isn't CJ Hicks playing more?
You know, CJ, great kid, excellent athletic ability. We're getting a lot of, I guess, veteran knowledge and production at the position, the people that are in front of him, you know, and I think it's just, that's just the case of him being ready to go. But, you know, understanding that there are guys who are really veterans in front of him. And, you know, he's learning every day.
Right next door, Tony Gergman, Buckeye Huddle.
Back to Sonny. We talked in the spring about using that time to experiment what you wanted to do with Sonny. How does that match up what you're doing now with, you know, the things that you saw and wanted to do in the spring?
You know, it's matching up in terms of you're seeing some of those things come out week to week, you know, as we employ them. So there are things that we worked on that you're seeing he's doing it in the game. But you know, we made a decision with Sonny to focus him on that nickel Sam strike, whatever you want to call it, that combo player. And he's gotten better because of that. You know, I think it's good to experiment with a guy, but he's young. You know, Sonny's young. So we try to keep those experimental concepts to a minimal to just let him grow at the position.
And in terms of what you might be doing with him, not to give anything away, but like what percentage are you with him in terms of, it's not 100% of what you want to be doing with him yet, but where are you right now, do you think, for this year?
For this season, probably 80%. You know, I think there's still a solid percentage of things that we'll be doing with him.
Second row right, Bill Landis, the podcast.
Jim, on Josh's pick 6, you showed a pretty aggressive look pre-snap, then dropped out in the zone coverage, and you've talked about wanting to be unpredictable as opposed to maybe like always aggressive, or at least erring on the side of aggression. Is that play maybe the best example of that? And just how is that methodology, you think, going for you so far this year?
Yeah, it's a great example. It's a great example. That's exactly what we aim to do more this year. That, you know, is that disguise and create that indecision by the quarterback and be able to jump different routes in different ways. And that one was perfectly executed and not so badly designed, I guess, either.
As you go about business that way, I guess, and like Maryland clearly reacted as if they thought you were going to come after them there. How much do you think your reputation for doing that in years previous is still helping you, even if you're not being as aggressive now?
You mean like they don't watch the film? They just say, "Oh, Jim Knowles, he likes to blitz all the time." They don't actually watch the film. I don't know the answer to that, but yeah, I'll take it. It's good. That's good. Yeah, we blitzed a lot in the past, not quite so much anymore, but it's always there. You never know when we're going to do it.
Fifth row right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Road.
I guess in that same vein, Jim, how much do you have to trust your linebackers to be able to show by simulating pressure without actually bringing it? Is there a certain level of trust that you have to have in a linebacker before you unleash that part?
Absolutely. Showing and dropping out is not as easy as it looks because you're up there, you can get caught in things. And if you're not 100% sure of your zone point or where you're headed based on the formation, you can get in trouble by being up too close. So we have veteran guys who understand it.
I know that you really respected Tommy's knowledge last year, but was there a certain level of having to see it from him for a year before you put him at the line and trust him to get back into those formations before you go upset?
Not having to see it, really just for him continuing to understand the big picture of the defense. So, he's always been really smart and figures things out. So I think it's just pouring more on him, and he continues to accept that challenge and really be the quarterback of the defense. He made some nice checks for us on Saturday.
Third row middle, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Jim, both Tyleek and JT played around 70 snaps on Saturday. Is there any concern about those guys playing too many snaps this time of the year as you try to keep them fresh for the stretch run?
No. I mean, we have to win every game that we play. So, we need to make sure that our best players are in there when they need to be.
I'm sorry. Right in front of Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Just
sorry about that.
clarification. CJ is ready to play if you actually needed him this year. Okay.
Yes.
It's more just about what Tommy is dealing
Yes.
with.
And Cody. Don't forget about Cody. Cody's a really good player, very productive, and also a veteran. But yeah.
It seems like with Cody, it seems like he's doing a lot, but just not in as many snaps as what Steele and with Tommy are getting. Has he earned more opportunities to maybe be out there?
Cody's earned more. Yeah. I got to keep pushing his reps up.
You got asked about Caden. Is Kenyatta? We heard a lot about him in the offseason, just kind of made a big deal about maybe he could be pushing for snaps, and we haven't necessarily seen him as much. Is that more about what Jack and JT are doing or something maybe we're not necessarily?
Yeah, again. Yep. Kenyatta's ready to go. He could play as much as we need him.
Second row right, Doug Lamarice, the podcast. Nope. Cleveland.com. Nope. Kings of Columbus.
Jim, I think the final count was 7 blitzes on 47 dropbacks on Saturday. I mean, I don't know. I think we're all just very intrigued by this evolution of a veteran coach. Like, how did that feel in that game to you, right? I mean, we've been talking and asking about it a million times, but as you called that game, did it feel right? Are there still times you're catching yourself? Like, what was it like?
No, it felt right. Like I've said all along, these are things that you go through in the dark, in my office late at night, in the off season, and you look at it and you look at it, and so that change really, it's been happening in me since the last game, and you're seeing it. So yeah, it feels right.
And that blitz that we're talking about was Sonny and Leighton together on that play. Is that one that you have in your pocket for that game and you're just waiting for the right moment to unleash that? Or what's that decision-making process right when maybe you have a look you think it's going to work?
Yep. It's the look, have it in your pocket, practice it, and then see the formation. See that it's lined up that the way we want it. I think we checked to it. Yeah. So, based off the look.
Third row left, Jeff Gilbert, Pressborough.
Coach, in terms of like game planning, flow of the game, you're talking about how you flow of the game, like with Coach Johnson, and some of the stuff that I was just asking about too. But are you feeling that better? What's the difference in how you feel going through a game this season versus last season, or even game one of this season to now? Are you just more comfortable knowing what to do with this defense?
You know, the honest thing, I think I said it before, I never feel comfortable. I never feel comfortable. So it's just a case of what's working. What do we need to get better at? What's the next play? What's going to happen 2 or 3 plays ahead? What are they doing? So it's a constant evaluation, a constant adjustment. But it's never feeling comfortable, or, you know, my job is not letting anybody else feel comfortable. You know, we have to keep pushing.
Over here to the right, play hall, WSYX.
What's your take on their quarterback, Hudson Card?
Strong arm. You know, really impressed with his arm. I mean, makes all the throws. Athletic enough to scramble and hurt you. You know, I don't know if we'll ever face one like we had last week, but he certainly is not just a has to be a pocket guy. He moves well. So yeah, I'm impressed. Gets rid of the ball, makes all the throws.
We'll wrap things up. Front row, Tim May on 3, Letterman row.
Thank you, Jerry. Jim, as you watched last week's game, I would think the idea was to go in and make Talia uncomfortable in one form or fashion. Like you said, cut off the escape hatches, make him find another one. As you evaluated the video, I mean, my opinion was y'all did that for the most part. As you evaluated the video, was that a success? How would you describe how y'all got that done? Especially, like the chase to the edge when Talia chased him and he throws it to Lathan. But just what's your take on that?
We won. You know, we contained what had been an explosive offense. So I would say good. You know, the concepts worked, like you said. I mean, you always throw that in for the most part. You know, I can go back and look at plays, you know, where they didn't work. You know, so when you look at things from my perspective, there's always something to fix and get better at. But you know, we executed the game plan well enough to win and contain an explosive offense. But we still got more work to do.
Yes, as former coach John Cooper said, the other team practices too. But I wanted to follow with this. I mean, so like they come out in the second half and have that drive straight down the field. I mean, we didn't get to talk to you Saturday, but y'all immediately got into an adjustment or whatever you want to call it. Obviously they found some things from that moment on in the game. How pleased were you with y'all's adjustments, and what more of a sign is that this is a maturing defense? If you follow, not just the players maybe, but even your staff.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We adjusted well. We recognized what they were doing. We fixed our issues. You know, we were able to move to some different concepts, you know, that we had in our pocket. All the, you know, those things that you a lot of times save until the second half, we were able to pull them out and execute them. So yeah, you're happy with the maturity of our guys, you know, to be in a tight ball game, and that's when you're able to just do some things that you had practiced and pull them out.
You got like another level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's think, you got asked about a Hudson Card, but when you watch Purdue, it seems like their offense has been sort of up and down, inconsistent, et cetera. How would you describe it, and what is it when they're going well that they do well in your opinion?
Third downs. I think they're 33rd in the country, maybe. I mean, they got a pretty high third down conversion rate. So I think that's something that they do very well. They take a lot of shots down the field. I think they when you talk about inconsistency, they've had some turnovers. I think which have hurt them, but they have the concepts in their offense. That's well run. That if you let them get going, you could end up behind the sticks.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.